Working with the Erlanger-Ellesmere School District, according to Dr. Burkhart, both Erlanger and Ellesmere do work with them very well. Now my question to you, and this goes to Randy, what do you think Dr. Burkhart would say is her biggest challenge other than money?
Well, you take out other than money, that's probably the biggest challenge. It usually is. But I would say probably there's two things I would say would be the biggest problems. One would be readiness for school. So many of the kids start school and they're simply not ready to start school. They lack the basic skills needed, and I think they're addressing that through the Family Nurturing Center, and Children's Inc. is working with the schools to have a center available to help bring kids into the fold and get them ready sooner. But school readiness has been one of the biggest problems I think they've dealt with. And the second issue I think would be the amount of languages that are spoken in the Erlanger School District. I think at one point Dr. Burkhart told me it was like 14, I'm probably off, it was an unbelievable number of languages they had to teach in or had to deal with. And so you have a lot of kids being taught that where English is not their first language. And for some of them it's not the language at all. And I think that has presented enormous challenges for the school district, but they are dealing with it and doing quite well with it. On the school readiness, I think one of the most remarkable things about the Erlanger-Ellesmere School District is the achievement they've been able to accomplish. They start with students who are much behind a lot of other districts, but they bring them up to par, and their growth ratio is actually better than most districts in the whole entire state. So they're starting behind, but they're getting up to par, and they're really bringing kids up to where they need to be. So that's been a challenge for them, but I think they've met it extremely well.
Thank you very much. Jessica, did you know that the Erlanger-Ellesmere School District is currently, they have a budget that was equal to the 2008 budget? Were you aware of that? It's basically really tough. She's got it tough. Should the city play a role in working at the state level to change that? Is it the city's responsibility, or should the school district assume that responsibility?
Well, understanding that our budgets are completely separate, but they are serving the same public. So being an advocate for those that can't advocate for themselves is extremely important to me. So if we have the potential to make relationships down in Frankfurt that can assist our school district, we're definitely going to do that. One thing that I've worked with Dr. Kathy Burkhart with is getting more involvement. So funding is definitely an issue. I know that their after-school programs have been cut drastically by half. So what we have done is we wanted to be able to put that out there to our businesses for sponsorship opportunities. So the Erlanger Business Council, which is a business advocacy group in Erlanger that's been created over the last several months, we had Dr. Kathy Burkhart be a speaker to where she was able to talk about the school district and what they offer our students. And then she was able to provide all the opportunities that businesses have to get involved in our school, and specifically say what they needed help with, what volunteer activities they needed help with, what internship opportunities, and any type of sponsorship opportunities. And being able to bridge that gap between our school district and our business community is so extremely important. And be that connect, that bridge that connects them. I think being an advocate in Frankfurt is one thing, but being able to be an advocate within our city, we have the potential. We have amazing businesses that want to be active and involved in our community. So if we are able to tie them together to the individuals that are in need, it's golden.
Thank you. Randy, city attorney versus city council attorney. Why is this unique arrangement good for Erlanger and not a waste of my money?
Well, first off, it is good for Erlanger because we structured the contracts so that the combined amount being paid to the city attorney and the city council attorney did not cause an increase in cost to the city. I helped negotiate those contracts, and I think they have been successful in reducing and capping the cost. So I think that's first off a good thing. Secondly, it's been necessary because there has been such a level of division between the council and the mayor. one of the first things he did, of course, was come in and fire Frank Whitman, and I think he handled that abysmally. And I think, well, you know, frankly, if I'm mayor, I don't really need 2 attorneys any longer, because I anticipate I'll be able to get along with council. But I think that's been a tremendous problem, because we have needed the 2 attorneys, frankly, because council and the mayor did not communicate, did not deal with each other, and we could not rely on the information we received from our mayor. And that has resulted in our need to have these 2 separate attorneys.
Thank you. Same question, Jessica.
So as a private citizen, you know, I was a private citizen when that was originally occurring. I feel as though it's unnecessary. It's a duplication of services, to be honest. Whether or not you trust or not trust somebody, I think is irrelevant. When you're talking about a city attorney, the city council attorney position is the only one, we're the only one in the state of Kentucky that has one. So I don't know if it's necessarily a good use of our taxpayer dollars. However, the way the contract is written, it's not up to a mayor to make that decision in order to terminate or continue the contract. It's written as a majority of council has to make that decision. So in reality, whether Randy and I are mayor, it's ultimately up to council in order to terminate that contract or continue it.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Jessica, one of the things that you stated earlier was going to be one of your priorities is to reduce taxes. And then you followed that up with you wanted to increase salaries specifically about the fire department, which was the question that I asked. How can you reduce taxes and increase expenses? What's your plan to address that imbalance?
So if you look at the budget over the last 7 years, we've had between a $1 million and a $2.5 million surplus each year. So when you're looking at our budget, our revenues are coming in and our appropriations are going out. That surplus is the difference. And what you see is you have a reserve account, which is suggested and recommended by our insurance company to have 30% stocked away just in the event there is an emergency. 30% of our budget is $4.2 million. We have that. We also have what is called an unreserved account. The unreserved account is at over $10 million at this point. So we have had a continuous surplus, even with the reduction of taxes over the last 4 years. Because we've seen such economic development and our property taxes increasing, our revenues are increasing drastically. So we need to make sure that we are not overburdening our taxpayers unnecessarily. So we can continue to reduce taxes and still push economic development and properly compensate our firefighters and our other city staff.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Randy, if you become mayor and one of your department heads is accused of a sexual assault, and this thing happened 4 years ago, it happened on his own time, it wasn't on city business, what do you do?
Well, I think the first thing you would do is have an investigation performed. In that circumstance, I would probably retain outside counsel to do the investigation, because in-house counsel, city attorney or city council attorney may know the individual involved, and that could create an inherent conflict of interest. So I think you probably want an outside counsel to perform the investigation. And depending on the nature of the allegation, if it was a civil matter, you'd probably just have counsel investigate it. If it was more of a criminal matter, you'd probably want to have a police agency investigate it. Either way, though, I think it'd be best to have the outside sources do the investigation, so it wouldn't be tainted by any type of allegation of a conflict of interest. So I think we have to have that investigation performed, and then probably, depending on most likely on the allegation, we probably put the person on a paid administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation. And ultimately, if the allegations are found to be substantiated, we would have to initiate probably some type of disciplinary proceedings. All of the employees in Erlanger have due process rights. So we would have to provide a hearing for that individual, we'd have to present evidence at that hearing, and then ultimately council would make a decision as to whether the allegations were proved or not proved. but we would protect that individual's rights. And anytime you have an allegation of this nature, you have to balance between protecting the public and protecting the rights of the individual. You certainly don't want to run roughshod over either. So I think an impartial, true investigation by outside sources would be the way to proceed, and then ultimately end up, if it is found to be found to have merit, we would have a due process hearing and make a determination as to whether discipline is needed, or whether termination is needed, or whether the person has been exonerated.
Thank you very much. Jessica, I saw you shaking your head a lot. Would your answer be any different than his?
No, I think that's extremely valid. We want to make sure that we're protecting both parties,
Right.
Especially if it is within the, well, you said it was outside of the
Outside of work.
outside of work. But we need to make sure that we're protecting innocent until proven guilty. We're following the proper procedures. I think we definitely have to go outside. Maybe get Kentucky State Police involved instead of our police department to make sure that we are following the proper procedures. But no, I agree with you.
All right, thank you very much. I think it was in 2008 that we had an emergency situation. One of the remnants of one of the hurricanes came through, and most of us lost power for up to 3 or 4 days. Does the city, and this question is for Jessica, should the city have any type of role in emergency services if a situation like that were to occur today? And I'll preface that. After that event, I had heard certain conversations that, hey, we're going to get together, we're going to have a meeting. Next time this happens, we'll be better situation to coordinate activities. I mean, if you remember at the cottage, I set up a grill outside and tried to grill everything that was in my freezer before it spoiled. But emergency situation, what role does the mayor have?
Role of the mayor. We're the calm in the storm. We're the goodwill ambassador of our city. So we need to make sure that we are calmly handling any situation that's put in front of us, whether it be a hurricane situation or a tornado or whatever it might be. We must be the leader that our city needs. So if that means we need to reach out to other nonprofits in order to get food supplies, or we need to reach out to St. Vincent de Paul to get clothing, whatever we need to do, we're going to do it. Because that's what we are here to do, to support our citizens.
Fair. Any difference?
Yes, actually, the city has developed an emergency plan on how to deal with these things. It's been in place for a number of years. It was developed when Mr. Otto here was our mayor. And it lays out point by point exactly what we're supposed to do in the event of an emergency, depending on the type of emergency. And the mayor is sometimes the public face of the city and making statements to the media and so forth. But ultimately, the mayor needs to stay out of the way and let the emergency personnel do their job. But we already have a plan for that. And of course, we need to look at it occasionally to see if we need to update it and revise it. Because there's been some things changed since that plan was put into place. You see an epidemic of school shootings that was probably not in existence at the time we developed that plan. And so we probably need to look at some of those issues. But we actually do have a plan that's already there that lays out the procedures.
All right, I know you were both at the last debate, and you both heard this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Merged services. Erlanger and Ellesmere successfully merged their education system in 1928. And this question goes to you first, Randy. Would it make sense to merge additional departments with neighboring cities, such as Ellesmere, to eliminate redundancies?
Yes. I think we always need to be on the lookout for services that we can merge. We've done this over the years. It's not a hypothetical question. Erlanger, of course, had merged to provide services for police with Crescent Springs. And that was actually quite successful. Now Crescent Springs has gone to Villa Hills. I think they could get it done for less money. I say more power to them if they can. But we've also done that. We ran dispatch for many cities in the county for a number of years. And we have interlocal agreements and mutual aid agreements with any number of cities to provide fire protection when they need it, to provide police protection when they need it. So we already are doing that to a certain extent. We've done it actually, like I said, with the police and dispatch, and certainly I'm always on the lookout for the opportunity to do that, because And we do have a lot of small communities in northern Kentucky. If I get in my car and drive from Erlanger to Cincinnati, I think it has to be about 19 different cities. And there's certainly going to be some overlap of services there. So I think we always have to be open to that so that we can better protect the taxpayer money.
Is there something that stands out as right for merger?
Well, I think probably the most obvious areas would be police and fire. I think Erlanger has some great people doing that, and certainly we've been open to providing that with other cities, working in conjunction with them. But it's a merger of services. We can't enforce it. We can't force it upon anybody. They have to be asking for it and wanting it. Like in the police realm, for example, Crescent Springs could not afford to maintain its own police service, so they approached us about merging services. We were glad to do so. I think it worked out well economically for both cities, and obviously they're continuing to work with another city. So I think those are certain areas you could look at. It would not present a problem for us to do that, but we need to be planning for it. We need to be asked to do it, of course.
Thank you. Thank you. Jessica, same question.
I think you could go a little further than fire and police. Something that the Kent County Sheriff offers is the collection of delinquent property taxes. So they collect all your property taxes for you for a certain percentage of the collection, which is approximately 2%. And then what winds up happening is you don't have any delinquencies on your financial books. They basically buy your book of delinquencies for that percentage. And at the end of the year, you are clear of delinquencies. You don't have to worry about going after delinquent taxpayers, non-taxpayers, and it's a potential of saving money for the city, and it's a service that's being offered by Kent County Sheriff, and they do it very well. So it's something that we should take a look into. It's technically a merging service.
Okay, so you both see an opportunity there, and I, as a taxpayer, am going to hold you to that. I'd like to see it. So thank you very much. Business. You both have talked about large businesses. And Jessica, you've been very instrumental, I know, in the Erlanger Business Council. What are you going to do to help me, the small businessman? Jessica, your question.
So you are correct. So we have a large business tax incentive. Like the payroll threshold is $750,000. So currently we do not have any type of tax incentive for small mom and pop businesses. So what we needed to do is we needed to figure out how can we help them be more successful. And is it getting out of their way, or is it by eliminating additional paperwork? How can we help them be successful? So we were sitting around talking at a council meeting one day, and wouldn't it be amazing to have all of these business leaders in a room that we could ask them, hey, how can we help you as a city government be more successful? So the idea of creating the Erlanger Business Council as this advocacy group came to light. And it was born out of the need to understand how to give small businesses a voice, how to give them the voice and the information from the city government. And now we are working together to understand what would benefit small business. Because a payroll tax incentive, from what I've heard from other small businesses, a payroll tax incentive wouldn't really help them that much. It doesn't have that much of an impact because their payroll isn't that great. So
I got $23.
Yeah, $23.
$23.
But there's other ways that we can have a bigger impact.
All right, thank you very much. Same question, Randy.
Well, how to help you individually, I could eat more chicken, but
no, me representing the small business.
I understand. I just couldn't resist. I do think payroll tax incentives is certainly a program to be looking at and exploring. It does tend to benefit larger businesses more than smaller businesses, and I think we could lower the threshold on that. I think we could some incentives to encourage the hiring of more employees. That's certainly another alternative as well. I think the city has always been very receptive to businesses, and we've listened to their concerns. One thing we've always done, for example, is if a business comes to us wanting a zone change so that they can do something for their business, we try to be very receptive to that, and we try to look for ways to make it happen. And usually we've been able to do so. So when businesses approach us with concerns, I think the first thing is just having an attitude of being open to hear what those concerns are so that we can actually meet those concerns and help that business succeed. I think, to a large extent, I own a small business in the city, so I'd like to see some things to help small business as well. And I will say the payroll tax incentive idea certainly does not really help us a great deal, but so I think we do need to look at lowering the threshold of it. And like Jessica alluded to, I think just staying out of the way of business, letting them operate their businesses and be productive. And certainly, like I said, when they need help from the city, being willing to administer it.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And audience, I don't know if you noticed this, but if you're on Facebook, you're going to see a whole lot of stuff that's going on between the different camps here. I see these two people as having a lot of parallels within their programs, within the initiatives that they want. So it's not nearly what I expected. Jessica, you become mayor. What are you doing first day?
First day, evaluate. Make sure that I am extremely familiar with everything in every department and understand what's going on and how I can help each department individually be successful. The most important thing in leadership is understanding how to empower those that are around you. So I want to make sure that our employees feel empowered to tell me their ideas and tell me the improvements that could be made. So I want to be able to sit down with each department individually. The best way to understand how to make an impact is talk to the public works employee that's driving around in the snowplow. Talk to the police officer that is driving around, at about 3 o'clock in the morning. Understand what's going on. How can I help you be successful? How can I be your advocate and make your life better to work here? And how can we have a bigger impact in the community together? So evaluation is extremely important to me.
Thank you. Randy, what are you doing first day as mayor?
Well, I think the major thing I would say is I would want to listen to people. And I do that in 3 ways. First off, we have a lot of employees and department heads, and Erlanger is blessed to have some fantastic employees and some great department heads. So I think we need to empower them to do what they need. So I would want to sit down with each of them, talk to them, find out what it is they need from us. We can only meet their needs if we're aware of them. So I would want to hear what they find to be where things are lacking. Do they need more money? Do they need more equipment? What is their need? And I've been doing that already, but I'd like to continue doing that. Secondly, we would meet with the council members and talk to them individually as well. Find out what their priorities are, what they deem to be important, and basically see if we can't structure some plans to start implementing these ideas. We've got a great council. We've had a good council for a number of years. We've got a very diverse group of people, and they all have a lot of good ideas. So I want to hear what their ideas are and learn from them, and then start saying, okay, your idea is whatever it might be. How do we start getting that accomplished? And basically empowering them. Okay, this is your idea, you run with it, you get us some information on this. For example, I know Ms. Sutkamp there has always wanted us to have a community center, and I think that's a fantastic goal. So one of the first things I would do is say, Patty, I would like you to start working on this community center idea. Where is it going to be? What we're going to put it? How are we going to afford it? And I know you will, because that's the advantage. We have a great council, they are energetic, they are knowledgeable, and we need to take advantage of that energy and that knowledge.
Thank you very much. Now I promised both of you that this would last no more than 1 hour, and we're approaching that time. Since Jessica started, Randy, I would like for you to lead the first of the closing statements.
All right. Thank you. I really appreciate you having this event tonight. I appreciate everybody coming out here. I think it's always to the advantage of the public to hear directly from the candidates, to hear what they are interested in, what our goals are, and what we intend to accomplish. That way they can make better informed decisions. So I appreciate you having this event. I certainly appreciate everyone coming out here. I appreciate Ms. Betty being willing to participate as well. What I would like to do, I've outlined my goals and a lot of things that I've written over the last few months, but I would like to just emphasize those. I would like us to improve our Erlanger appearance. I would like us to improve our community centers, the parks, the community events. And I'd like us to continue to invest in Erlanger. And part of that is drawing more businesses in so that we can continue to lower our taxes for our residents. I think my experience on council, my experience dealing with nonprofit organizations, and my experience as a business owner uniquely suit me to work with the council members, and the fact that I have the support of the overwhelming majority of council, I think will enable the transition to take place seamlessly.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Jessica, it's your turn.
Here's the next.
Thank you. Again, thank you. This has been wonderful. Our city is at a turning point. The world is constantly changing. Many of the problems that we're addressing today are problems that are different than the problems of the past 50 years, or even just the past 15 years. Business as usual and status quo cannot lead us into the next generation. Erlanger is great and unique. For it to remain great, we need new ideas, creative thinking, and courage to carry us forward. We face new issues and problems that we've never faced before. The heroin epidemic, the pension crisis, and years of neglect of our infrastructure. If we sit back and wait for others to develop solutions to these issues, we not only sacrifice our greatness, but we risk losing our uniqueness. Erlanger is in a position to be a leader in our region, to develop new and innovative ideas and solutions, to be a shining city on the hill.
Thank you.
I vow.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's a good spot to end, and she's getting ready to hit her dinger. So, if you all could please join me. Thank you. And thank you, Erlanger School Board, for the use of your facilities. Please don't hesitate to meet Diane O'Toole in the back with the Kenton County Alliance. As I understand it, candidates, this was going to be your last forum. Is that correct? So you can each take a deep breath. Thank you all very much on behalf of the Kenton County Rotary. Thank you.